Welcome back, guys, to another freight market update. This time we are looking at May. My name is Gregor Manatidis. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Navia, and I'm with our Head of Ocean Product for Australia, Yanis Papanthimos. Yanis, let's start off with the capacity. For those of you that don't know, we work off a traffic light system. Green means 70 to 100% of typical capacity. Orange or yellow is 30 to 70%. And then red is less than 30% of typical capacity. So let's start off, Yanni, China, capacity, what are we at?
Well, from Asia, generally speaking, we expect May to be quite, I would say, soft.
Yep.
At this stage, we are looking at going with green lights. We are most probably looking at a yellow light.
Yep.
In terms of capacity.
That's into Australia.
That is into Australia, correct. US things are very turbulent when it comes to US. We have seen huge blank sailings announced from all the major carriers, especially on the TP trades.
Massive,
because of the Trump administration tariffs. So space is quite available into US. It's just that because the demand is predicted to be quite soft,
low.
At the same time, demand has also been withdrawn from the market.
Okay. So there we're probably a orange as well, like caution.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Correct. I know that this is something that you were talking about last time and that's been building. What about Europe into both Australia and the US? I'm assuming it's going to be the same, but tell us about Europe at the moment.
Especially Europe into Australia has become a little bit of an issue the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
Mainly because we are seeing congestion building up.
Yep.
On the North European major ports, such as, for example, Antwerp or Rotterdam. We're expecting delays. There is congestion due to weather, but also due to local strikes and stuff like that. As such, we would say that space is quite restricted. We will go with a red light, especially into Australia or Oceania. Into US, things are quite softer, again, basically because demand is not there.
Pardon me. So because of the less demand, the space is probably a little more available, despite the congestion in that area. Okay, beautiful. So on the air freight front, I was talking to Alana. She has said that China into both the US and Australia, especially Australia, is pretty good. So we're talking probably a green there, but into America, maybe an orange. There was a lot of demand, which has since eased. Part of that tariff rollout was the reduction of the de minimis exception. So there was a lot of e-commerce going on that lane, which has then kind of dropped off. So that's what's happening on the air freight side of things.
Just to add a small remark regarding especially Europe into Oceania and Australia particularly. It would be beneficial for the customers to add a buffer of approximately 7 to 10 days in the total transit time because of the congestion.
So account for that and book a little earlier, obviously, I would assume.
That's always something.
Always a good.
Always good.
Always good things to do for the customer and for us, of course. When you plan, we can plan, right? So let's now talk about rates. Looks like they've plateaued. What are we seeing there?
Correct. There haven't been any material or significant changes, especially into Oceania. The last couple of weeks, the SCFI is pretty much stable. We do see the FAK rates going down, but again, it is kind of expected because we are into slack season. There is a different pattern between Northeast Asia and Southeast Asia, with Southeast Asia being always a little bit softer when it comes to either reduction or increases. And we expect a similar pattern to go for the full month of May.
So probably just ease, a little bit of ease, which is probably very welcome in the rate space.
It is expected, and at the same time, what we need to highlight is the fact that currently is the time for the customers, at least, to make sure that they commit to their forecast. That's the most crucial part that the customers need to be aware during slack season.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
The slack season is going to determine, the performance during slack season is going to determine how carriers are going to look at each customers' named account during peak season.
Right.
So as long as there's a stable performance during slack season,
Yep.
carriers will most probably be able to give the allocation during peak season.
So what you're saying is, if I'm an importer and I've committed to X amount of containers, if I agree or hold up my end of that bargain, one of the carriers will be looking at my account and saying, hey, we're now in October, let's say, we're running tight on space. ABC company, proprietary limited, was really good to us during slack when we had plenty of space available. So we're going to treat them with that space accordingly during peak.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Good. That's good advice there, Yanni. Always very prudent. So that's a good piece of advice to supply chain managers. What other bits of advice would you be giving going into May?
May is expected to be soft. So at this stage, again, if you're an Australian importer, there's not much to worry about in terms of tariffs and stuff like that.
Yep.
However, especially for customers who are into the TP trade,
Yep.
there's a lot of turmoil and turbulence
Yep.
in that particular trade. What we expect during May, Southeast Asia volumes, we do expect them to ramp up.
Okay.
Because the Trump administration, has given that 90 days notice.
Okay.
So the tariffs are not as high as out of China.
In that region.
Correct. At the same time, though, as we have already said, out of China we're seeing significant reduction not only in the capacity but also in the demand. So from a US customer perspective, it's a little bit of a wait and see. We have heard the Trump administration saying the last couple of days that they're going to find a solution, they're going to sort it out with China, but when that is going to happen, how that is going to happen, it's anybody's guess.
And just on that topic, let's play out a hypothetical scenario here. Let's say in the middle of May, or even towards the end of May, whatever it might be, those tariffs get rolled back. So we see the tariffs getting rolled back and maybe demand out of China increases. What might that look like? Because you see a lot of carriers probably would have redirected some vessels. What might happen there?
What we need to keep in mind that especially for the supply chain, any disruption is quite easy to happen. It can happen from one day to the other.
Yep.
But to get things back to where they were before, it's not a thing that's going to happen instantly.
Yep.
So if that happens, what we do expect, there's going to be most probably congestion in the major US ports, West Coast mainly, but also East Coast. At the same time, there could be equipment issues because the carriers, as we speak, have in their mind that they need to provide containers out of Southeast Asia.
Yep. So they direct those containers elsewhere.
Correct.
Yep.
So if at the same time the tariffs go back to where they were before and the production out of China into US ramps up, there's going to be a lot of
scrambling,
there's going to be congestion. It's going to be a tough period.
Yeah, which that's to be expected in shipping. That's that's part and parcel of the shipping game. That's
Never
it.
Boring day.
That's it. Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Yannis. Keep updated. We will email these updates out to our customers as well. And of course, if you have any questions, please contact your Navia account manager or shoot an email through to learnmore@naviafreight.com. Thank you for your time, Yanni, and we'll see you guys next month.